My guest today on the podcast is professional blogger and planner designer Laura Smith. In this interview, we have covered her business journey as an organizing focused blogger all the way to being the designer of the Sweet Life Planner. She has done all kinds of interesting things focused on organizing for her audience online. So if you're interested in creating more for your organizing business online, whether that's a printable download for your prospective clients or something far bigger than that, you're really going to love this.
You're listening to the Pro Organizer Studio podcast with Jen Obermeyer. Thank you for joining in. Jen makes it her mission to broaden the horizons of savvy businesswomen in the organizing industry by instilling confidence and inspiring authenticity. She is a devoted business coach and founder of the Inspired Organizer program. Each week, you'll gain new insight into strategies designed specifically for professional organizers. And now, let's get started.
Hi, Laura. Welcome to the podcast today.
Hi, thanks so much for having me.
So, as you know, my podcast is for professional organizers, but I love having other people related to the organizing industry on to talk about what they do. So Laura, as we know, is not a professional organizer. However, she is a professional blogger that is definitely related and loves all things organizing, which is why I knew she had to come on and be a guest. So Laura, you are a blogger, you are a professional planner designer. Tell us how all of this started and where it got started.
Okay, so basically, I think I started my blog almost 7 years ago now. It's crazy how fast time flies. And at the time, I was working as an electrical engineer, designing nuclear power plants.
Interesting.
Nothing to do with this industry. But I think the real reason that I started a blog surrounding home organizing is just I've always had a heart for home. Like, I want my home to be that true haven that is just like peaceful and calm. It's always been that to me. And so I just had a passion for that and I wanted to share that. So I started a blog, and I kind of, when I started, I hoped it would grow into something, that would help support my family. But I more than anything just wanted to share what I was doing, the little DIY projects and the things I was organizing and the systems I had found that worked to like kind of organize my life. And I just was excited about sharing that and building a community around that. And it kind of grew beyond my wildest dreams.
That is incredible. So I have to ask this. When you started the blog, I know you didn't know it would be where it is now. Did you ever consider, we have to know, did you ever consider becoming like an in-home, like organizing service provider and going that route?
Okay, so that's funny. Actually, in the beginning, I didn't. It's a dream of mine now to do just for fun because I see all these other professionals and I'm just like, that would just be so much fun to go in.
Yeah.
I obviously love organizing, but no, at the time, I think I was lacking in confidence. Like, how could I do that or start my own business? And I think that was a big reason why I didn't really give that a lot of serious thought. But I think it's a great industry, and I just love that. Nowadays, I feel like I follow so many professional organizers on like Instagram, especially. And
yeah.
I mean, their feeds are always my favorite. And like their stories where they're like showing, hey, we went into the client's house and like, here was this disastrous room and we transformed it. And I'm like, oh, that's amazing.
I know. Well, see, here's our dirty secret is that most of us would do this for free, for fun,
so
just
true.
like
and
you're saying.
Do that for like my friends sometimes, or like when I would go to my mom's house, I'd be like, okay, let's tackle this closet or whatever. So yeah.
So, okay. So that's awesome. And by the way, you'll definitely have to dip your toe in at some point because you'll see like it's a whole nother like boost of energy. You can do your own all day long, but when you can start throwing away other people's stuff, it is a high like nothing else. Okay. So Laura, so you saw a different path forward for you with the blog. And like you said, so you had another really serious career, like full-time job at that point. Like, what did that transition look like for you?
So for me personally, I think I worked in that career for about 7 years, and I didn't necessarily love it. I'm strong, like when I was choosing my career, and I think it's so funny that like when you're 18, you're supposed to choose what you want to do for the rest of your life. I'm like, I don't really know. And I was strong in both math. I do love math. And I think that's one of the reasons my blog has been successful is I kind of look at it a little bit more analytically, and I'm looking at the data and thinking it through that way. So I think that helps. But I've always also had a creative side and loved writing. And so I think I was just missing that in the engineering field. And I also, for me, like I said, my heart is at home. So I didn't like the career that was taking me away from my house 11 or 12 hours every weekday.
Yeah.
I knew at the time that I started the blog, I now have a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old. I didn't have any kids. And that was, something we were planning for. And I knew I did not want that career when I had kids. Like, I wanted to spend more time with them. So we were planning on just living on my husband's income. And I thought, well, if I could start this business and bring in just a little bit of extra money working during nap time, that'll really give us a lot of breathing room on, one income. And so that was kind of my goal for it. So that's kind of how I made the transition. It was a little easier for me, I think, because we had been planning all along to not really use my income. So we were saving it. And so it made it less scary feeling to go from that to blogging.
Yeah. So just because I know that a lot of our listeners probably are curious and don't know as much about the fact that blogging is a real business, what was your first source of income from your blog?
So I started, I think, a little bit differently than some people in that when I started the blog for real, and side note here, I contemplated, researched, thought, analyzed for 2 years before I started the blog. So that was probably the biggest blogging mistake I ever made is why didn't I just get started? But I was really scared. I'm one of the, I'm super shy. I don't know if a lot of people know that now because I do a lot of public kind of thing.
Yeah.
And blogging has really helped me kind of overcome that. But I was just too afraid to start. So when I finally did start, I launched with a product.
Awesome.
So I had something to sell, and it was a pack of printables. And I actually, instead of spending all this time researching how to use Illustrator and buying this expensive software, I used what I already knew, which was Excel. Because all the time in my job, I was creating spreadsheets, and all the people at work were always like, you always make your spreadsheets so pretty. I was using pretty colors and
that's awesome.
And so I was like, I'm just going to start there. I mean, now we use Illustrator and InDesign and all of that, but that's where I started. And I made something that I would want to use, a printable organizing thing, and I put it out there for sale. And I think the first year I sold maybe 8 of them for $10. So it doesn't even cover hosting. And I wasn't expecting, I had obviously I started with 3 readers, myself, my mom, and my best friend. Everyone does, So I did not sell a lot, but I would say the first thing I really sold, I didn't have ads on my blog for a long time, and those are still the teeniest little percentage of my revenue. But a few months in, I worked on building my email list, and I built it up to, I don't remember how many people I had on it, but a decent size, and I released the next year's printable pack, and I improved it. I worked really hard, made it even better, and I released that with a limited time promotion and sent a couple emails, and I made $3,000. And
nice.
I mean, to me, that was just insane. Wow. Yeah. Of course, I worked for 8 months, 20 hours a week at least to get there. But it was still just an amazing, that's when I knew it could really work. I can really make money blogging. It's a legit career. Yeah. It was kind of the turning point for me when I knew I could make real money and that the email marketing stuff actually works. Yeah.
Oh, I could go on and on. We could go into a whole nother podcast topic about that, all that behind the scenes stuff that goes into online business. So I know a lot of people are thinking, okay, wait a second. You made a printable about organizing and that supposedly help people be more organized. And that I know is perking up a lot of people's ears because they're like, wait a second, could I do something like that and offer that to my clients? Could I put that on my website? I know there's probably a lot of possibilities opening up in all kinds of people's minds right now. So what can you say about that?
Oh, yeah. So I totally think if you're a professional organizer, you probably do a lot of things already for your clients. Why not do a little DIY package that people could buy right off your website? And the beauty of that is that it's a way to add another revenue stream without actually having to spend all that time going to a client's home, and people love that. You already have a following, then whatever you have, go ahead and offer it to them, and you never know where it will lead.
I think a lot of organizers definitely don't think of their website and potential blog. I mean, that could be a whole almost second business for them in addition to the in-home services that they're offering, but that they don't have to go whole hog with that, just to have like a little, small printable product or even some DIY option on their website that gives even their local clients just a little bit of a taste of like, here's what it's like to work with me. Here's the process that I'll be using. If you would like to download this starter package and, get a few steps on your own to get the ball rolling, then I can come in and work with you. I mean, there's so many ways to, I think, position that, even for clients that you would still like to be going into their house and working with them to get the project really finished. I think that's probably the biggest part of it, right?
Yeah. And I do think, you can go like all in and focus a ton on that side, or you could just do something small. Like if you have something already, offer it to whoever's following you. And, it never has to become this whole big thing if you don't want it to.
That's amazing. Okay. So speaking of this whole big thing, you now have your own planner that you sell. And let me take a side note to say, on a personal level, the name of your website, I Heart Planners. I mean, I really do heart planners. And I know a lot of my audience does too. I mean, I have a legit problem in that I cannot walk into Staples without buying something new that I don't need. And of course, I'm always looking online at, the really fancy, almost $100 planners. And I'm like, no, it's not time to buy another one of those. Okay. So tell us, I know a little bit about your story and that you really wanted to create the perfect planner in your eyes. Like, how did that whole process come about, where you're creating really your own product to sell?
Yeah. So that whole process, I was several years into the business. I think it's been, we're coming up on 2020. So this will be our third annual planner that we're releasing. So I'm fairly new in the physical printed planner side of things. And it had always been something, that I would have loved to create this like physical planner. And actually I've kind of come full circle in the business. The first couple years I sold various products in my Etsy shop that I put together myself, like Spike Star labels were my most popular item. Chalk labels. I even put together like printed out planners myself and put them together for people.
Yeah.
But we ended up shutting down that side of things because it just wasn't scalable. And once I had kids, it was hard to like have that pressure to like, I actually have to fill these orders. And so we shut that side down. And when I shut that down, it was always my dream that if I could get something a little bit more mass produced, I would love to do that. So I pondered it and I thought, I felt like it was just too big of an undertaking, and it is a big undertaking. Like, you've got to invest a lot, figure out where and how to get it manufactured. And the other thing that was super important to me, there's a lot of planners on the market, and being a planner junkie, of course, I've tried a lot of them. Like, I buy them just because I have to see them. I don't even, I love that. But so I didn't want to create just another planner. Like, what good would that do people to add just another option to the sea of options? Like, if I was going to create it, I wanted it to be like my dream planner. And I know that that's also a lot of other people's dream planners. And so I was and this made it really, really challenging to find a printer. I knew I needed a disc bound system because I fell in love with that years ago, because I don't know if people aren't familiar with it, you almost have to see a picture of it, but it like combines the beauty of like a 3-ring binder, how you can rearrange and add and take away pages, with like the spiral bounding in that it's not so bulky and you can turn it over on itself.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So I knew I wanted that. This was huge for me. I wanted a page for every single day. It drove me nuts. Almost every single daily planner I have run across combines Saturday and Sunday. When I was working a full-time traditional job, I needed the most space on Saturday and Sunday because I didn't actually plan my work tasks. Like, I had a different system for those. So I had the most time on Saturday to like get all this stuff done. And then I have this like little half a box. And I was like, I need one for every single day.
Right.
But of course, our planner is literally our daily version. We now have a couple weekly options, is like literally like 490 pages.
Wow.
And I wanted good paper quality, like none of this thin stuff, that you, like ghosts and all of that. So discbound was the answer. That way I put 3 months of the days in at a time, take them out, and then I put the next 3 days. So I found that solution that really worked. So basically, I had somebody come along who we had talked about this for a while, like wanting to partner together to create this planner. And it was just the right time. And yeah, it's been amazing, but it's a whole different animal, kind of like a whole different set of things going on and to manage. A physical product, it's obviously so different. Like you have to sell it on a different channel. You have to worry about shipping, fulfillment, storage. There's a long lead time to getting like a sample and then getting it produced and then better come in on time and like all of those kind of things. But we also find that to be kind of exciting. And I just think for me, like I love digital products. Like I love buying courses and participating in all sorts of digital products, but there's just no substitute for like a physical thing you can hold in your hands.
Golly. So it sounds like, I mean, you really incorporated like what you need as a busy working a full-time job. Like you said, it's your philosophy on time. Like you need more time to plan on the weekends. Like that is not just a afterthought half of a day for you. Like that's still a full day of your life. Like I love that, like that reflects who you are as a person and as a mom now, and what that people really needed that they weren't getting with these other planners. And I also love how you said the disc bound system is very important to you because it's about how you carry this thing around. It's really a part of you, right? Like it's part of your life. Yeah. So I love that. And I know that a lot of organizers out there who are side hustling and still do have a full-time job, they might leave it, they might not. Like that could be, this planner might actually be something that they're looking for too, because, a lot of their business is happening on nights and weekends, and they really need kind of that full expanded version of a paper planner, which like you said, and I have to agree, there's no substitute for writing things down.
I agree. Yep. I love writing things down.
So, okay. Is this the main portion of your business? Like what else do you have going on now at this point?
No, the planners are actually not the main portion of the business. So one of the biggest things over the last couple of years, I had this idea. Now, as an entrepreneur, you have to understand, I get like 1,000 ideas a day, and 99% of them go to the parking lot, because if you use every single idea, then you just get too many things going on and nothing, goes well. But every once in a while I have one and I'm like, I just know we have to do this. And this was one of those where I wanted to do like an online virtual summit for organizing. And really, my biggest motivation was, this is what I wanted to attend. Like this would be my dream.
Interesting. Yeah.
To attend. And I wanted to get like all my favorite people together to present. So the way that it works, it's called GetOrganizedHQ. And we get a whole bunch of different organizing experts. We have several professional organizers. We have people who blog about organizing. We have even people who blog about like meal planning come on to talk about meal planning, or someone who blogs about fashion to talk about organizing your closet and all of those kind of things.
Yeah.
So we get them all together. We do these video presentations and we air it over a week. It's free to attend live, and then people can choose to purchase the all access pass, where they get like lifetime access and a bunch of transcripts and cheat sheets and bonuses and all that good stuff. So that has been a huge thing that we do over the past couple of years, and it's so much fun because like I either interview people or they submit their own video, and just hearing the stories of some of these people is just amazing and like, life-changing for people. So that's been a huge part of what we do. We did 2 last year and we did 1 this year, are in the process really. And then we'll do 1 a year probably. 2 is just too much. Yeah. So that's a huge thing we do. We also have a membership called the Sweet Life Society. And that is where we kind of give people help in getting organized. So we give them a lot of tools, a ton of printables. I'm kind of the printable queen. Like that's how I started. My business was creating all the pretty printables for, you can use them for organizing like anything basically. Mm-hmm. So I created all those. So we put them in one place, got them organized. And then we do like monthly plan with me's and monthly Q&As. And we're going to start monthly challenges where like in January we focus on laundry, and in February we focus on meal planning. So just like really giving people practical advice and really helping go that extra mile to help give them the motivation and tools they need to get organized. So those are like the main things we do.
So that's awesome. And I think that's a wonderful option for those types of people out there who might not ever really hire somebody to come and physically be in the house with them, but they do need like accountability, motivation, kind of some structure, like some homework, like here's what we're doing next. And, you know, and having somewhere to like come and ask questions and get inspired, I think is a huge benefit of what you're offering with that.
Yeah. And that's something, you know, it's like the business has just evolved so much over time. At the beginning, I focused so much on just creating every possible thing I could, like every little product. You know, I made the little Spice Star labels with my little silhouette machine.
Yep.
It was so fun. I still miss those. Like I secretly hope we can bring those back when my kids are a little older and can do.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're just so fun. But like I made all that. I made all the printables, like, oh my goodness, so many. And kind of over time, I've realized we need those tools. Those are great, but we also need help and motivation to learn how to use them. You can easily get overwhelmed with where to start. And I'm in the same boat. Like sometimes I'm overwhelmed and I just need somebody, hey, tell me what to do. Or it helps me to know, hey, I don't really love doing laundry, but I know all these other people are also, you know, trying to do their daily laundry routine. So those kind of things just really help.
That's so amazing. So are you still blogging?
Yes.
Weekly, daily, monthly? Like, what does that look like for you now?
So the actual blog, we blog once a week. That's what I've done pretty much from the beginning. And that was really how I started my business a little bit before I actually quit my full-time job. I made this commitment to myself that no matter what, because it's hard. I mean, no one's reading it. I always, like in the beginning, especially, I felt silly. Like no one's going to care. This blog post is really silly. Like it's really hard to put yourself out there.
Yeah.
So I made this commitment that once a week, no matter what, I was going to have a blog post and send an email to my list about, you know, and usually that's the content of the email. And I made that commitment, and basically we have done that for the last 7 years. And I think that consistency has paid off in a huge way. So now I now have several people on my team. So it's not just me, myself running everything. So sometimes they'll come along and help write the post, or occasionally we do guest posts. So it's not always me taking care of the entire post. And of course they do the formatting and the graphics and all of that these days. But we do put out a piece of content almost every single week. We may reduce that at some point because we have so many archives. Like content is not people's problem. We've got that. But we just enjoy putting out that content every week.
So let me ask you this. Where do you find your source of that consistency, especially when, like you said, and I'll just say, I know it's not just for professional organizers, but I think for all business owners that they love what they're doing. And there's so much motivation when you're starting. Like I know you said it's hard when nobody's reading your blog, but like there's so much motivation sometimes to get this new business like going, and new professional organizers are so excited to talk to everybody about what they do. But then like that fatigue sort of sets in where you're like, am I really going to write a blog post about another closet today? Like, how do you find that source of, I know what I'm doing and sharing is important and valuable to people, even when I'm at a point where I feel like it's a little bit silly? Does that question make sense?
No, it totally makes sense. And I think that is totally normal all along in the beginning, or even, I mean, I feel like I go through cycles all throughout where I'm like, oh my goodness, this is dumb. Or I feel like when I started 7 years ago, I mean, I want to say Pinterest was like super new. So nobody had like, or maybe somebody did, but very few people had these like beautiful photos on their blog. And now I feel like, oh my goodness, everyone's upping their game and I'm like left behind over here, like just doubting yourself and worrying like what people are going to think. I think all throughout is hard for me. And I mean, I think everyone's personality is different. The game changer for me was like, I made that commitment, and I did make a lot of other commitments, like in my own life or in my business. Like I didn't say I was going to do 82 things. I said, this is what I'm going to do, because I just felt like I owed it to myself to try. And that was like a good solid measure of if I'm doing this every single week. And, you know, it's something that it takes a little bit of time, but even if I have a crazy busy week, or even if I just gave birth and I'm in the hospital, I can get it out on my laptop, you know, like,
wow, yes, commitment. Yeah.
You know, I can make that happen. And so that for me was the key. And it helped build and this is kind of what I teach in like my courses and everything, is that built my confidence in myself that like, hey, I say I'm going to do something and I do it. So, because I think sometimes all you have to get you through on some days is your commitment. Like, I'm going to do this no matter what.
I second that. So do you mean by that, not just a personal commitment, but a public one that you can't back out on?
So both, yes, like personal.
Yeah.
And then when you make it public, you take it to the next level and you're like, okay, so people are actually counting on me. And nowadays,
Right.
like, when I first started my blog, it was more a personal thing because hardly anyone would know or notice if I did or I didn't. Well, now that I have a lot of readers, people would start to notice if I just skipped a week or something like that. So that keeps me going. And then most of the time, it's not even hard because you start getting feedback from people how it's helping them. And like, to me, that is just amazing. Like, we just get emails from people and, they send us stories about like how they used, our organizing system for this or how this has helped them. And so when you're able to see what you're doing and how it's helping people, it makes it way easier to go on and realize that you're not going to be for everybody. Like, there's no one right way to organize or one right planning philosophy. So some people are really going to resonate and it's really going to help them and other people aren't. And that's okay. Like, you're there to help the people that really resonate.
Golly. So this is such good advice. Like, how do you, especially like you said, when you launch your planner, you're like, there's a ton of planners out there already and they're amazing. And how do you avoid, I mean, I know that you have a really unique product, but how do you avoid getting sidetracked by thinking, oh God, I'm done for. So-and-so came out with this, or this happened. Like, how do you avoid that like comparison of not just your product, but your offers and really everything about your business? I mean, because I know that at the heart of everybody who loves organizing is this sort of perfectionism of, I want what I do to be my very, very best. But it's so difficult when you're looking around at what everybody else is doing.
Yeah, and I feel like that has actually gotten harder over time because when I very first started, I followed a handful of other blogs that I knew about who organized. And then I wasn't on, I don't even know if Instagram was a thing. I don't think Facebook groups were a thing. Pinterest.
Yeah, right.
I didn't start until a little bit after that. And so I don't feel like I was exposed to as many other amazing people doing amazing things. And so I feel like, oh my goodness, that is so, and I have moments every now and again where I am just like, I should just quit today because so-and-so put out this product and it's amazing. And it is. Other people are doing amazing things. And I'm like, why do I even, so I think if people feel that way at the beginning or anywhere throughout their business, it's
or years into it. Yes.
Completely normal. And
completely normal. Yeah.
Space changes so fast. And so I think that is completely normal. But I think the things that I do to kind of help with that is, I mean, sometimes I think you need to turn off the noise. Like,
yeah,
I like getting inspiration and creativity, but I think like when it's time to create, I just need to shut down. Like, I don't need to go be checking Instagram or Pinterest or see what anybody else is doing. I just need to do my thing and like kind of focus on what I'm doing and also own the way that I am different. Like, own the fact that, hey, like, I am not organizing like the Home Edit is. I mean, they're amazing and I love them and I could drool over Instagram, but that's not me. And also, I'm not one of these people that's out there doing like this amazing morning routine every morning and checking off. Like, I really struggle a ton with self-discipline, like hugely. And so I'm just owning that. And like, yeah, I'm different. Like, I'm not one of these people who has all that together. But I think sometimes the ways that we're different, like if everybody just had it all together all the time and could easily check everything off their to-do list and have a beautifully perfect home, there's people out there who need help and want to see somebody who's more like them.
Like them. Like, you're exactly right.
I'm like, hey, like, actually, did you know that my laundry room is holding half the junk that I cleaned out of my office, and it's been that way for a month because I haven't gotten around to it. So I try to show that side of things and just realize
I love that.
People relate to that, and it's okay. Like, we're not trying to act like, we have it all together because we really don't, or at least I don't.
Yeah. No, I mean, I feel like that was a really important question for me to ask and for people to hear from someone as successful as you are, that you also still have, like you said, your own personal struggles and the comparison kind of thing. That game kind of never goes away. And that, like you said, you have to kind of go into your crazy space where you're like, the outside world is shut out so that I can continue to focus on my mission and get my stuff done.
And you also have to keep in mind, and I know you probably heard this before, like everyone else is sharing their highlight reel. And so
For sure.
we don't
Yep.
see the whole story. And I think it's just so easy to, whether it's organizing or something else in your life, how much of the story you're not seeing. And even if you look at my feed or whatever, there's so much of the story that you don't see. And the people who know me in real life, like, they're not asking me how I get it all done because they know I don't, like, it's the people online who only see those little snippets. So I just feel like sometimes I think we just make so many assumptions about, like, well, if they show me an organized space, well, their whole entire house must look like this 100% of the time. May or may not be true. So I think just realizing that we only see one part, and it's easy to focus, like, we know where all of our shortcomings are. And so it's easy to, like, get bogged down in those, and we just don't know the whole story from really anyone.
That is so true. That is so true. And that is a really good, like, almost, we all need to print it out and remind ourselves daily about it. I want to ask you about one other thing you said. You said as an entrepreneur, you have 100 ideas a day and that you have to say no to 99 of them. And I want to kind of bridge that comment over to what you said about some days you do feel like, you said, I should just stop now. Like, I should just start over with a whole new idea. And I would love to know your thoughts on, when you are an entrepreneur and you have a lot of skills and you're like, if I wanted to just, it's like, theoretically, I could just stop this whole thing that I feel today like I am failing at and just start a whole new business. Because I, again, think that a lot of people who are into organizing kind of feel like it has to be perfect and nothing can ever go wrong. And if it does, then I probably just need to scrap it and start over. Does that make sense?
Totally makes sense.
What are your thoughts about that? And how do you avoid running off, like, from your amazing business?
Yeah, so I can totally relate. And I think especially for organizers, we think everything has to be so just right. And oh my goodness, like, I will tell you, the behind the scenes can be so messy. And my own journey has not been super clean and, like, everything is all tidy. And so definitely, and I think one thing that has helped me in the beginning, this wasn't intentional. Like, I love collaborating with other bloggers and having other blogger friends, but I didn't really go to conferences. I didn't have a lot of, like, bloggy friends. And so I assumed that everyone who was putting out a nice blog post every week had everything all together and they weren't scrambling at the last minute the night before, figuring out what they were going to post or whatever. Like, you assume that. But as I've gotten to know more, business owners, I realized a lot of it is messy. Like, it's just for very few people that I know of, there's hard times. And there are times when I am just like, oh my goodness. I mean, for me, part of what's been really hard is growing a team. So I'm decent at organizing. I'm decent at writing. I like the analytics. There's a lot of parts of this whole picture that I'm decent at. Being a leader and running a team is not one of them. And I'm just like, oh my goodness, I should just quit now. Like, I am so unqualified for all of these things. Like, I've been, like, crying in my closet before because it brings out,
Wow.
I just realized, like, through that, I will let myself stop and ask the hard questions to myself. Like, I won't just, I'm not asking these every day, but, like, I want to check in with myself every once in a while and make sure that I am on the right path. And so I'll ask the honest questions. And every single time I come back to, like, no, I am in the right place. Like, is what I want to do. This is what I love doing. This is why I wanted to blog about this. And so there's going to be some hard days. There's going to be some hard times. There's going to be weaknesses that I have, and I'm working on improving those or bringing people in who are, like, a more natural in that area.
Yeah.
But, like, and growing is hard. Like,
God, it's so hard.
I mean, just the growth that we've had over the past 3 or 4 years, like, there's no magic manual on, like, here's exactly how you do it. It's just, it's hard. And so I just think, just asking myself the questions and knowing that, like, this is what I love. I want to help people with this, and just really accepting the messy parts. I just think you absolutely have to, and looking at the parts that are working well. So, like, there are things that are going well, that are working well. And we even try things that completely fail. Like, I'm like, we're going to try this new challenge and everyone's going to love it and it's going to be amazing. And then it, like, bombs. And, like,
interesting. Yeah.
Even years into,
still happens, right?
And that's normal. Like, it's not time to shut up the business and close up shop,
Hey, that was helpful for me because I mean, truly, like, especially when you already have your thing going, it is so much more challenging to to try a new thing than it was when you were at the beginning and nobody was really paying attention, because you could say to yourself like, oh, it's okay, I'm trying to figure things out. But then like once you have, like in your organizing business, once you have a lot of followers, once you have a lot of clients, or I can even say in my own coaching business, like once you have a course and it's successful, but it's like, oh gosh, now when I do something, everybody's going to be paying attention, whereas before you kind of tell yourself it's no big deal, I can hide in the closet. You have really summed up, like that is the challenge of growing, for anybody out there who cares at all what anybody thinks ever, which is, most likely all of us at a certain level.
Yeah. And you have to get thicker skin. Like I remember the first time I got a really negative review on Etsy from one of my printables. And that was a first experience for me. And I literally cried for like,
of course you did. I know.
Oh my goodness, this is like, I put my heart and soul into this and they don't like it. And the world is ending. And then, after I did that, I was like, okay, I don't think the world is ending. And even probably the best people you admire the most get some sort of negative feedback or negative review. So it's all good. And I mean, I've grown much thicker skin and now I'm like, okay, somebody doesn't like something, fine,
yeah,
we'll move on. So I think there's always going to be people who don't like something and that's okay.
Yeah.
Just you learn over time. I mean, that's what I did. I just kind of learned over time, this is going to happen and it's okay. And you get enough people who do like it that it kind of, and I mean, I've read somewhere that you tend to focus on that like 1% who don't like something and you put all your energy in that instead of the 99% who actually love it. So
of course, I mean, that sounds like the most natural thing in the world to me to do. It takes a lot to teach yourself how to be different. I mean, again, I think that personality trait of focusing on the 1% that is not going well, because we are like naturally, we like to solve problems. We like to fix things. So we look for problems to solve, and that can be a real downfall in your business when you don't know what the answer is and you are dealing with negative feedback. And then you're like questioning whether you're even on the right path. I mean, it can be like this negative spiral.
It can. And I mean, when it comes to feedback, I also try to be like humble and like not everything I have is perfect. So if somebody points out an honest fault, I'll say, you're right. Like we could have done better, like not everything, and so just being honest about it. Like sometimes people are just having a bad day and like
right.
They want to take it out on something weird and there's nothing to do about that. But also being honest, like, okay, you're right. It's not perfect. And in the beginning, one of the other things I did, and I think along these lines, it's really hard for those of us who are like, have the organizing brains and want everything to be just right, is like, somebody said something like, okay, you've heard like done is better than perfect. And somebody else said, you don't get paid for something that's 98% done. I could get my planner 98% there, but if I don't launch it into the world, it doesn't matter. And so I kind of forced myself to launch things before I thought they were perfect.
Interesting.
And that has made all the difference for me. It was hard, but because if you're someone who likes everything to be just so, I mean, you could just spend forever trying to perfect it. And I mean, all the time, I'm like second guessing, okay, I should switch the order around in these 2 course modules, or I should add this one, or maybe I didn't give enough support. And like, but you have to get it out there so that people can start using it and give you feedback, and it's never done. Like you can always keep improving it. So I think just being okay with getting things out there, even if they're not like 100% perfect, is huge. And I mean, even in my personal life, when it comes to organizing, like I used to think if I couldn't organize it perfectly with all the labels, then I shouldn't deal with it. So like I would have like beautiful closets that were perfect, and then like some other area was a huge mess. And I realized, okay, if I can get it like 90% good, that's way better than just being like, well, can't get it right, so may as well not touch it. So I don't know. I think a lot of organizers may have the same personality. I don't know that like that.
For sure. Oh, for sure. Yeah. And then they'll beat themselves up on client projects because it wasn't perfect by their standards.
But the
client, it's like it's in another galaxy of like whole nother level for them.
Yeah. And I think whether you're serving like clients on a one-on-one basis or whether you're doing something where you have like a ton of customers, the real goal is to help improve their lives. So if you've done that, then you met your goal.
Okay, so I'm really curious about this because you do have so many different pieces and moving parts of your business, and it sounds like you are going to likely continue to launch new things in the future. Are you one who you really go off of like customer requests and feedback about what to do next, or do you kind of like just get an inspiration and follow that?
I think we kind of do a little of both.
Okay.
Man, I mean, one of the places that I feel like I get inspiration from as far as what to create is like looking at other industries. Like the summit is a great example. Like I've never seen anyone in the organizing industry do that, but I saw it in other industries and I was like, somebody should do this for organizing. And anytime you say somebody should do this, somebody is probably you. That's happened at different times in my life when I say that, and I'm like, yes, that means it's me.
That is, I mean, honestly, that right there is a little gold nugget because I feel I've done that a few times before too. I'm like, I wish somebody would just fix this problem, or I wish somebody would lead in this specific way. And I'm like, oh crap, maybe I could be that person.
Yeah, I've done that in other ways in my life too. And so, that was one where just looking at other, and just kind of thinking creatively. And also, but even then, once you build up a customer base or like a following, you start hearing from them and consistent themes come out. So I think one thing, I don't know if this is true in every industry, but at least in the blogging industry, people have a lot of needs, but they can't come to you and vocalize exactly how they need you to help them with it. So they can tell me, I just feel overwhelmed. I want less stress and more peace in my home. That's what they tell me. But I'm the one who needs to go figure out how I can make that happen. They don't come to me and say, I need a summit or I need a course, or they don't give you the specifics. So I'm and the more you get to know your customer, the easier it is to create things that really help them. So I think I'm really kind of trying to get in their head and think about what's going on for them and then try to come up with creative ways to help them with that. And not everything always works perfectly. I think doing things on a smaller basis, like a little test or something, can work well. Like, okay, we're going to beta launch this course, or, those kind of things can work. And sometimes I just know when it's going to, I know, okay, this is going to work. Like, we're going to go for it. And other times I'm like, I just kind of want to test this out here and see how it's really going to help people. But that's kind of, I think, how I do it.
Is your primary method of communicating with your whole audience now? Will you post a blog post and say, what do you think about this? Will you send an email? Do you have a Facebook group that you kind of do your market research in?
It's changed over time. These days, the blog posts in themselves don't really get a lot of comments. Basically the only thing in my business that I'm literally the one who manages 100% is my Instagram. Everybody will send me a story and I'll post it, but I'm the one who writes every single word that goes on Instagram, and I'll respond to every single DM. No one else really does that, because I just feel like Instagram is just such a personal platform. So that's what I do. And so there I feel like I get a sense, although my following there is way smaller compared to everywhere else. Until recently, it hasn't really been a focus for me. I just recently got into it. I was like, I kind of like this Instagram thing, especially after I started following all the professional organizers and can't stop watching their stories.
I know.
So that's the one place where I get a sense of what people like. And then beyond that, we get a lot of responses to our emails a lot of times, just our weekly newsletter. And so that tells us a lot. When somebody signs up as brand new on our newsletter, they get an email sent to them that says, let me know what you're struggling with. And so I will look at that. We do not have a year-round Facebook group, but we have one for our GetOrganizedHQ. And we get a ton of feedback because it's super active for a short time. And we even ask them when they come into the group, you know how you have to answer those questions, just make sure they're not a total spammer or something. Yeah. And one of them we ask is why are you interested in getting organized? And we actually copy those down into a spreadsheet. And that has been hugely telling to me. And sometimes people will tell you so much in there, and sometimes they'll just say something a short little phrase. But that for me is kind of how I gauge. But it's been different as when in the beginning, I was the only person who saw my emails. Well, now I don't really see very many of them. But I still go in there every once in a while because I want to see what's going on. And then my customer service person communicates with me a lot. I'm like, what are you seeing that people are saying, and things like that. And so So that's kind of how I communicate and get to know what they're needing or wanting.
So for those people who are now just learning about you and want to find out exactly where all of these different projects live for you on the internet, what is the main hub for everything?
So our main website, iHeartPlanners.com. From there, you can pretty much find whatever you need. You can use the search, or we've got the menu, so you can find the different topics that interest you. From organizing, for a long time I wrote about entrepreneurship. I don't do that as much anymore just because time. But I still love talking about that as well.
Awesome. So they can find out more about the Sweet Life Planner through that website. I looked at the website for the Sweet Life Planner. It looks amazing. You show a video of that disc system, so they know like what exactly that means and what it looks like. I'm really interested in trying that out for myself. And then also they can navigate to the GetOrganizedHQ. When is that next virtual summit going to happen? Do you know?
Yeah, so it actually happens September 9th through the 13th of this year.
Oh, awesome. Yay. And you said it's free?
Yeah, it's free to attend live. There's 46 sessions.
Wow.
And everyone can watch them for free for 24 hours. So because we know everyone's in different time zones, or you just have so many commitments. So choose the ones that you want to watch. You can watch for free. And then if you want lifetime access, you can purchase the all access pass. So you can watch whenever you want, revisit, and get all the extra bonuses.
That sounds amazing. I am definitely going to tune in, and I'll probably have to buy the pass so I can go back and watch all the people that I couldn't get to the first time. That sounds awesome. Laura, thank you so much for coming to chat with us. It's amazing to, really see what you're doing in the organizing industry, and, knowing that even though you don't consider yourself a professional organizer, that you are absolutely changing people's lives in a mass kind of way and in different formats that, like we said, they're definitely needing. They know they can't do it on their own. They need somebody to help them. So whether it's going to be one of us coming into their houses, or, getting inspired and, using all the different things that you offer, it's just incredible. Thank you for sharing all this.
Well, thank you for having me. It's been a lot of fun.
Yay. Okay. And thanks, guys. If you have not joined, we have a free Facebook group just for the podcast. So if you enjoyed this episode, you want to thank Laura, ask her another question, beg me to get her back on here, whatever you want to say or do, come join the Facebook group so you can know when we post new episodes, request other topics, other guests, just know about what's going to come up next for the Pro Organizer Studio podcast. So we'll see you guys there.
Thank you for listening to the Pro Organizer Studio podcast. If you'd like to learn more about time-saving services and resources for professional organizers, visit www.proorganizerstudio.com. And if you'd like to get Jen's roadmap to success for launching and growing your professional organizing business, go straight to www.poroadmap.com.